DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We were brought to you in part by Next Gen Motors. And Scotty G and the coach, Tim Lacombe, will be at Next Gen Motors today from 10 to 2. It's Next Gen Motors' grand opening at their new location, 590 North State Street in Linden. All right, question we got up on our Facebook page. Can you imagine BYU having back-to-back number one draft picks in consecutive NBA drafts? We just spent the last second talking about Dybantsa. He does look like he's projected as number one. There is still a chance someone might go to Peterson. They dig into why he missed so many games or parts of so many games. His talent is number one worthy. We'll see if they overcome that. We find out next week who has the number one pick and which team will have to make that decision. But the thought of two players going back-to-back, that comes down to Bruce Branch. So he's committed to BYU, and if you look at mock drafts, PK, and I called up a couple of them when I saw you post this, and an NBA draft room, and they've got Bruce Branch at number 4, but NBA NBADraft.net has Bruce Branch at number 1. One of the comments here, even from the folks at NBA Draft Room who have him as number 4, a big-time talent who can score from inside and out. He has a silky smooth jumper and a great release. The sky is the limit. Reclassed to join the 2026 recruiting class. So that even though they're putting him fourth, they're leaving the door open that he could jump. And when we saw Edgecombe rise, 10 spots, maybe more in the draft a year ago, in a year you can really change your how NBA teams evaluate you. I do find it interesting that of the top 4 players, actually the top 5 players in that mock draft, 4 of them are 6'7", 6'8". Jordan Smith Jr., who's going to Arkansas, is 6'2". So for the teams looking for size, this year there's a lot of smaller guards, and then there's a couple guys in Boozer and Dybantsa who are clearly much bigger, and even Peterson maybe has a little more size. Next year, a lot of those 6'7", 6'8" wing guys.
I love 6'7" wing guys. They're my favorite. Long, lean, take massive strides, go to the hoop, defend, get deflections, in the passing lanes, get out on the break. Oh, Sniggy, break it down for me, big guy.
I was a little surprised, though, because we just heard so much made of Stokes, who's the number 1 recruit. Now, I get drafting a guy number 1 is different. I mean, they're just projecting in 1 year in college, what can he accomplish, whereas the pros are taking the longer view. Well, how's he going to develop over 5 or 10 years?
Well, yeah.
So it's a little apples and oranges.
It's totally.
Were you surprised to see Stokes?
Yeah, well,
not one?
Nah, I don't know how they judge that. What I do know is that the pros, I trust in them a little bit more, even though there's no guarantees. There's no 100% slam dunk. Occasionally there might be an individual player, but the draft is full of crappy draft picks. I understand that, but I trust the NBA people in their evaluations more than I do in the others. I mean, Isaiah Collier was the number 1 player when he came out of high school, right? And he went 27th or whatever it is. And he's an NBA player, obviously, but he has flaws in his game. And those types of flaws show up the higher levels you achieve, you move up, the more you're exposed in that way, right? So we understand all that. But it's just the opportunity to get this Bruce Branch in here. That's why getting Dybantsa literally could pay dividends for years to come. So to say, oh, they didn't get the return on the investment of Dybantsa, it's so short-sighted because that we have no idea. It's like a teacher and that teacher's effect on a student. You may not know that for 15 years later when things are going, or a coach, a high school coach, a young boy or a girl going through something, and they can draw upon the lessons that they learned when they're like 25, 30, right? So there will not be an immediate return on the investment, but down the line, and that's what you're going to get potentially with Dybantsa. It's stupid to say, oh, well, they went out in the first round, so all that money they paid him was wasted. Well, did they get Dybantsa? When they get him, does that open the door for a kid like Bruce Branch? Well, man, if it's good enough for A.J. Dybantsa, I need to check that place out. And here you go, Bruce. Talk to him. And especially come on campus, and A.J. is already right there. Yeah, you don't have to call them on a phone. You can go talk to them right there. You can talk to them in a facility and all that stuff, right? Because they always have players, sort of the lead. What are they? I don't know what the word is that they use, but when
host
a kid
on a recruiting visit.
Yeah, and a host. There you go. Yeah, so they can do all that. That thing can just springboard and just have the domino effect for years to come. And maybe that's part of the deal there. And if you get that, you're going to get minimally, unless things go totally haywire, in KY's first 3 years, you're going to get 3 lottery picks. How about that?
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That's a total change. Now, can they start, dare I say it, stacking lottery picks in the same draft class? Because we do see schools where, it was Arizona this year, Duke a year ago, where you're sitting on 2, 3, 4 pros at the same time in the same draft. Can they do that?
It's hard to do that because they're probably going to all be freshmen. Lottery picks. Right? There's not a lot of non-freshmen who are lottery picks, and a lot of those times those guys are foreign guys who may not come over. So that's going to be difficult, and I realize Duke did it last year.
Right.
And, maybe what you want to be able to do is get – and you can't take KY can't get all the credit for developing Richie Saunders because he played for different coaches. I think a lot of the credit goes to Richie Saunders for developing himself. So what you try to do, if you can do that, is get kids who you can develop. We'll see what this Rooker kid can do if he stays in the program, and what is he like his junior year, and if he's ready to go at a high level, and then you've got some kids, some 1 or 2 freshmen that you brought in then, combine him, or transfers for that matter, they don't have to be freshmen, do that. And I think that's more logical. But KY has broken so many freaking boundaries. I'm not going to put any boundaries on this guy. I'm not going to put any limits to say, that's not going to happen at BYU while Kevin Young is the coach. Absolutely not. I want to see where he can go.
Guide. Yeah, history's no longer a good guy. I wonder if they could do something like at Arizona where Krivas has come in and his role has grown. Coach him up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's not all freshmen.
Right, not everybody has to be a one-and-doner. And they can get somebody, and then get a player who has a bigger size and can be a better pro prospect than a Rob Young, or Rob Wright, I should say. He comes in and has a first year and then maybe plays the field or doesn't play the field and realizes that I don't need to play the field. I got everything I need right here. And so his second year around, combined with Bruce Branch and so forth, then they're that much better. That's why I anticipate next year's team being better than this past season's, because Rob Wright will be in a program for a year. You have a top-level talent like Branch, maybe not as top as Dybantsa, but then you're going to augment it, and you got the Wayland kid, and who else they got? They got somebody else, Yak, out of the transfer portal already, right? Who is it? They got.
Remind me who you just mentioned.
They got another LDS kid coming in, right?
Chandler.
Chandler, there you go.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That's what I was thinking.
Colin Chandler.
Right.
Yeah.
So you got him, and Chandler now, he's 2 years removed from the mission. He's played 2 years.
Shot 46% from three
The
last
best
year.
of Colin Chandler is going to be seen in the 26-27 season. He needed time to grow a little bit. He spent 2 years not playing the game of basketball. You got to give him time. So now the best version of Colin Chandler, Kevin Young and the Cougars are going to get. That's why I have a lot of optimism for this team. They still need some big guys. We know that, but they're not done. So what they've been able to do has been really good. I expect they'll have some big dudes that can take care of that and all that stuff, and away they go. That's why I have optimism to think that next year's team is going to be better than this year's.
It'll be interesting to see as they have more chances to test this new world order and see what really works and what doesn't, if at some point they want to go away from the lottery picks, because those are expensive in the NIL world. And I assume there's a budget out there. Even though it's a big budget, there's still a budget and a line they can't go past.
It's too enticing. You can't.
Okay, but does it win, or are you better off?
Yes, it does win. It does
having
win.
A bunch of juniors who have experience and are late first or second round draft picks.
No, you can't turn down top talent. It does win. I mean, you get in a one and done situation, so you may not literally win, but win it all. But it won. Duke won. They got to the Final Four. Arizona won. They got to the Final Four.
Yep.
Right? And Cole Pete's supposed to go off, and they knew when they recruited him. I'd heard about this kid for years, being from the Phoenix area, that this is what. So you got to go there. You got to make sure that there's a supplement of guys for and around him. I wouldn't pass on top talent because there's no guarantee that, I pass on top talent because I'm going to spend my money better elsewhere and I'm going to get guys, I'd rather get someone who would be drafted 25th. I just don't see that. I don't see that logic. You go and try to get the best talent and fit the pieces together. That's what you have to have. It's not just completely the best talent. It's the pieces that work together. And that's what Kevin Young is figuring out. And he figured it out on the fly. And now he's got a foundation to draw from. I really think the best days for Cougar basketball are ahead of him.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. David Locke joins us next to talk draft and lessons learned from the NBA playoffs so far as the game continues to evolve. We will get to that with David Locke next. Stay with us. Pablo Mastroeni coming up at 9 o'clock. Cole Bagley joins us to talk NHL playoffs. Game 6, Mammoth and Golden Knights tonight. That's coming up at 9:30. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We've had some surprising developments here in the NBA playoffs, PK. Were you more surprised watching I almost said the Phillies, watching the 76ers tie up the Celtics 3-3, or more surprised watching the Knicks build a 50-point second quarter lead on the Hawks? All right, I'll take that as you weren't surprised by either one of them. Personally, I was more surprised by the 50-point margin. I have picked playoff series wrong before. I've been off base on that. So to see a little bit of a surprise here, to see the Sixers with Embiid back and healthy and playing really well. I mean, let's be honest. If he was playing really well, they wouldn't have been the 7th seed. But he only played 38 games. So that's the difference there. So that was surprising, but mildly surprising. To me, the bigger surprise was a 50-point second quarter lead. I've never seen such a thing, PK, nor did I have any expectation I'd see it when I turned it on. All I could see when they took a shot of Quinn Snyder was me flashing back to Quinn sitting on the bench while the Clippers demolished the Jazz and won 4 straight. I don't know where he'd rank those on NBA playoff tortures, but they got to be 1-2 in his life.
Did Quinn look skinny?
Quinn always looks skinny.
Well, then nothing's changed. That's my point.
You more surprised by the 50-point margin or the Sixers tying that series 3-3?
I think the Sixers with Embiid are an entirely different team.
Right. Never would have been the 7th seed, wouldn't have been in this series in the first place if he'd played more than 38 games.
Right. So a 50-point lead is in a playoff game, a closing playoff game. I mean, I thought the Knicks were the better team, right?
Yeah.
And so they were down 2-1, panic city. Nah. The better team usually wins in bad, not always, but usually in a 7-game series, or in this case it went 6, obviously. But a 50-point lead is just unheard of, man. And then they were just getting to the basket almost at will. And I didn't watch much of the third quarter, but I watched almost the entire first half, if not the entire first half, and it was just amazing to me to see that. It was kind of cool to see all the former Knicks there, too. One of my childhood heroes, Walt Frazier, John Starks, Patrick Ewing, sitting there at the game down there in Atlanta. So they got that going for him. I just didn't expect that, but it happened. What does that mean going forward? I'm not sure. If they would have won by 20, that would have been good enough. But Atlanta it was a record-setting night, and it was embarrassing for them. I mean, I don't have anything against Quinn Snyder by any stretch, not at all. I didn't deal with him a lot, but every time I did, he was good to me. So I felt bad for him because obviously they're not as bad as they showed.
And now the Knicks await the Celtics or the Sixers.
Well, yeah, and Jason Tatum had some issues there with, was it a calf, if I remember? What level of effectiveness is he going to have in Game 7 and availability? If it's not availability, I mean, that's nasty. So who knows? But if Embiid can do what he can do, and the other guys, and Paul George is playing, that's a pretty good starting lineup.
DJ PK, and we're joined now by David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. David, good morning.
Good Good morning. It's a Friday. I get to talk to two of my favorite people in the whole world, two of the most gifted. I've been very lucky in life. I've generally surrounded myself with amazing talent, incredibly smart people. It usually elevates yourself if you can be around smarter people than you. And there might not be a better example than getting to spend time with David James and Patrick Kinahan every Friday morning than just stealing a little bit of smarts from other people. And that's what this morning is about for me, each and every Friday, becoming a little smarter by being with two geniuses, David and Patrick.
If only all that were true.
Two genii.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you for the grammar, PK.
Oh, really? I had no idea. Is that how it's supposed to work?
I think I
No
made that
idea.
up.
You just made it up. Nobody knows. Nobody cares either.
It's like
I think
cactus.
geniuses, but yeah, whatever. Dictionary.com when the segment is done. You can check it out. David, I'm curious what you have learned from the first couple of weeks here of the NBA playoffs. What have you picked up on? Because playoff basketball is different than regular season basketball. The Jazz are trying to build a team that will succeed in the regular season so it can succeed in the playoffs. So what lessons should we have taken away?
Defense is obviously vital. And, if you're not a two-way player, you're getting exposed both offensively or defensively. That's the same as every playoffs, where just the standard of performance is so much higher than it is. You're so focused on what they're trying to do to you. If you have Atlanta was trying to get by with two or three non-shooters, and that obviously got ugly fast last night. I think that offensive rebounding is still really important. That was the big trend of the regular season, is that offensive rebounding was massively important. There's not a huge shot distribution difference going on here. It's not as though everyone likes to say, well, the mid-range becomes more important, and I think it probably does. But there actually isn't a big change going on here. The interesting kind of numerical thing that's taking place is the corner three, which was such a good shot in the regular season. I think teams shot about 38 or 39% on corner threes, is down to 35% and is actually going into last night's game this won't last, I don't think, but is lower than the above the break three at 35.1 versus 35.2. But that's a real change. So that's defensive rotations are got to be getting out to the corner. I think it's too big a sample size for it just to be kind of a weird shooting thing. But that one's really interesting. That tells me there's something going on defensively differently in the playoffs. In fact, if you really get in on the numbers so far in the playoffs, and we have played over half the playoff games at this point, you have to realize that. Like, there's 8 series right now, and there's only 7 left after this. So this will be half the playoff games. Is that the corner three shooting actually seems to be the number that kind of it all stems back to. Free throws are up. Offense is down. Offensive rebounds are up. Shooting is down. But shooting's really just down in the corners.
Wow, there's a lot to digest there. Thank you for that. I was joking.
Dude, I'm trying to rise to the occasion to be equal with the genii or whatever you are.
There you go. I was joking with Austin Ainge the other day, saying, I don't mind talking hockey, no problem, but I really want to talk playoff basketball. So could you make sure that you get a playoff team? He said, when, joking back and forth. Yeah, we're working on it. And clearly they've got a lot of options that they can do. How much from what the roster is right now to when we get to October, how much different do you think it'll look in terms of what's available now versus when camp starts in October?
So I think we all find ourselves on a pendulum of reaction to these things, right? I happen to be right now kind of swung all the way to the side of dramatically different. Every indicator that I have is if we really think we're a top 6 playoff team, we better overhaul this from 5 down on the roster. And maybe that's unfair to those guys because they just haven't had the chance. And TJ Shannon last night's a vital piece of the puzzle. And who's to say that Isaiah Collier or Bryce Sensabaugh couldn't come off the bench as the 11th or 12th guy to do that for the Jazz on playoff series? So maybe this is unfair. But, I'm just looking at, the indicators. How many guys are playing in the playoffs that shoot under 30% from 3? Dyson Daniels, Amon Thompson, Oscar Thompson. Okay. And they're all problems. when they're on the floor right now, and they're all the three best defenders in the NBA. How many players that are actually third year, 3 years and below are getting time in NBA playoffs right now? Not very many. How many are going to be left after the first round? Not very many. Like, so all the trends to me say that if we're really a serious playoff team and trying to be a top 6 playoff team, we can't have 5 guys in our rotation next year that are in their third year or less in the NBA, or even fourth year or less. You just can't do that. We need to find our Marcus Smart. We need to find our, veteran that, like Marcus Smart because he's an ass kicker. Some veteran shooter because Tim Hardaway Jr., who's been around for 10 years, that you just kind of know isn't going to be fazed by the moment and can make a shot. I understand they lost last night, but you got those type of players. We don't have those guys. And I think we're going to have to find a way to get them if we really think we're a top 6 team in the Western Conference. But I will admit, I'm swung I can feel myself probably being swung too far on the pendulum right now to that side. And I probably have got to come back and say, well, those guys never were that guy until they got their first chance to do it. And a little bit of my mindset right now is like, well, they haven't done it, so they can't do it. And that's probably not fair to Bryce and Isaiah and Cody. But, honestly, Isaiah and Cody, like the shooting numbers, it's really drastic. Like, you're not playing in the playoffs if you can't shoot over 35% from 3. You're just not, unless you're really special at something else. And frankly, Flip shot 32% from 3.
I'm totally with you on bringing in veterans. I've said veteran ball handling guard, veteran shooter. I'm not giving up on the young guys. Now, I realize there's some salary considerations. You may have to give up somebody to get somebody, much as they did with Jaren Jackson Jr. You just have to give up on some of your young guys. But I think they have to go in with the idea of building a 10, 11, or 12-player rotation and people have a chance to be competent. Because if there's a takeaway in this, David, it's the injuries. And I don't know what it is, but the best theory I can buy into so far is the one you said, is the guys are running and cutting more. And just the number of injuries. All-stars missing the games, and now players who aren't quite all-stars, but they're top 50 or 60 players. They're very good. The household names – I mean, we're about 10 deep now. We might even be a dozen deep in guys missing games. I don't think that the Jazz should assume that they're going to have their best roster available in the playoffs, because basically nobody in the West does. Everybody's lost somebody for at least one game.
Right. And I think there's a chance – I don't know if the math actually works at that list, but I do think there's a real chance that these guys that we saw develop this year and make great strides could be 11, 12, 13, and 14 on the roster next year. But Bryce, Kyle, Cody, and Isaiah are 11, 12, 13, and 14 on the roster, kind of like Terrence Shannon was in Minnesota this year and Jaden Clark was in Minnesota this year, and they're not a part of the rotation. But then you get to the playoffs, and the years of development kick in because Bryce is ready to come in and beat Terrence Shannon last night and make those plays. And Isaiah's able to come in and be Jamal Shed for Toronto and make plays. Jamal Shed had to start with him quickly out, and I think is going to turn out to be too much. But I think you do have to go to 11, 12, and 13, and maybe that's where some of the guys that we've watched for the last few years actually are this year, because you had those veterans, and then because they've gotten so much time in the last few years, they're able to go. They're able to step up and make the big plays and really change. Terrence Shannon Jr. might have changed the trajectory of his career last night.
You did not mention Cody Williams, so I'm assuming you're putting him in through 6 through 10. And who are the other guys then? Are they currently on the team?
I meant to include him in 11 through.
Okay.
I thought I said Bryce, Cody, Kyle, Isaiah.
Okay. All right. My bad. Then who is – so
yeah,
then –
I'm just doing this so if our 5 is our starting 5.
Yeah.
And your 6th guy is the draft pick. And your 7th guy is your backup center, which may be Zubac, but could be expensive. And then – fee, because I'm just not sure you're getting a better veteran of that nature. Your 9th guy is the ball handling guard that David just talked about. We got to have. And your 10th guy is some sort of other veteran. Well, then all of a sudden, Cody, Isaiah, Kyle, and Bryce have slipped to 11 through 14.
Okay, so then
I don't know if the math will allow us to add that.
6 through 10 on the roster then right now.
yeah, I think there's a real chance that 7 through 10 is not on the roster right now, and that's why Austin drafts 6 and has to go get 7, 8, 9, and 10 on this roster and figure out how the math works. Is how are we getting a backup center, and what are we willing to spend for that if Jaron's going to play some minutes and Walker's going to play most of them? And then how are we getting another ball-handling guard who can actually play and complement Keontae or be on the floor, as with Keontae in key moments, probably a guard that can finish games. And then, we just need some toughness, too. Like, we need somebody who's going to be, we need somebody who's going to go get in somebody's grill. We just don't have that. Like, you realize that, like, you realize when we're talking about being 6, we have to be better than Golden State, LA, Portland, Phoenix, and then one other team.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Everybody's getting big money. Get her done.
Yeah, I think
let's
it can
face
be done.
it, some of those teams might slip in some of their own rebuilds. Somebody might tear themselves apart, and somebody is going to get gutted by injuries. If it's not you, then it's going to be somebody else. There's always somebody dropping like a rock because of injuries.
Sure, but it's still, on paper to start the year, you got to get better than Denver, Minnesota, Houston, and LA, Lakers too. Like that's the last piece. You got to get better than one of those.
Yep.
I think it's doable, though. I get it. Work needs to be done, but I don't think it's far-fetched.
I guess my point is it's not doable by just making a draft pick.
Understood.
Right.
Yeah, I got it.
Right. The draft pick's not going to help you win games next year.
The G and I agree about that. It's a 3-0 vote on that one.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by what you said earlier, and PK, this is the one time PK will deal with a stat. You were talking about the shooting percentages from the corner versus above the break. But doesn't all that need to be broken out to whether it's contested in the corner or it's open, whether it's contested above the break or whether it's open, and whether it's a contested to or whether it's open? Because when guys get open, the numbers go way up, and I don't know because you just threw the number at me, but my guess is those corner threes are down because there's 16 coaches on 16 playoff teams insisting we're taking away layups and dunks and we're taking away corner threes, and people are committed to limiting that shot because it's shorter. Doesn't it come down to, are you open also?
So probably. So then what would make the corner three less open would be that you're having better on-ball defense, that you're double teaming less and you're not in rotation as much defensively. Or that you're just firing out better to the corner than you do during the regular season.
You're less likely to leave and help. You just stay put and take it away.
Right.
If they get a layup or dunk,
play
well, they do.
Night. There was a play last night. Doris was really good last night, where Rudy was driving and Spencer Jones, who's a rookie, rotated in and left Naz Reid or somebody open in the corner, and she's like, Rudy's not making a multiple dribble play. You cannot leave that corner guy. And I think like that was a rookie making a mistake, nonetheless a Stanford rookie, but still a rookie. And I think that's where, one, you have veterans out there that don't make those mistakes usually, and two, you're at a level of detail in the postseason that you're not in the regular season, where in the regular season maybe, I'm going to guess that was their coverage. Like, if someone's driving because Jokic is a bad rim defender, you're coming in and we're going to give up that corner three. In the playoffs, you're probably not doing that the same way, and so you're just defensively playing it a little differently.
I think the biggest question I've taken from this playoff is, can you shoot a layup when the game's conceded in the final seconds?
I just thought Jokic was mad all year. Like, I don't know what's going on in Denver or what's going on in his life or what he's going on. I just thought he was angry, floppy, upset, joyless all year.
I wonder why I liked him.
That. Right, perfect. You're awesome. You're the best. That is genii at its greatest right there. That was my takeaway. And I think that, like, we forget these guys are human. Like, honestly, like, you had my biggest, like, thing that I think is difficult for me as just someone who spends time in the league, and when I'm out and around in public and people are talking about these guys, it's like they're humans. And I think I know that because I'm with them all the time. Yeah, I just felt like there was something off with Jokic all year. I don't know if he didn't really like David Adelman, if he didn't like Jamal Murray, if he didn't like the weather in Denver, if something happened in Serbia in the opposite. Like, it could be anything. He's human, right? It could just be whatever. But he seemed joyless all year long. And even just the push on Spencer Joe or on Jalen Wells late in the thing was over, and he was just angry. He went after him. Like, he seemed that way in games when we played him. The throwing down of, who was it, one of our players, like when he, and just guys are in on his knees, like whatever's going on, there wasn't the same. It was brilliant. He got his numbers and did his stuff. He's a horrific rim defender. It's a real issue. But I just thought he was joyless all year long, and I thought that play was representative of, like, that somehow, like, the best player in the world was bothered by that. No, you should be bothered the fact that this team without any players is kicking your butt.
I obviously have no idea, but just sitting here watching, I would guess that he knows they're not a championship team, and he knows they're not making championship decisions in the front office, and there's a coaching change. It's all falling apart, and he doesn't see it getting put back together, and he's frustrated because of it. That's just me with a clicker. What do I know? But there you go.
Right. Yeah, and I sometimes, they're all, and I guess my point was there also could be 73 other things going on because he's a human being.
Yep.
Yeah, right?
Absolutely.
Like just the same way we are. Right?
The political climate in Serbia is just a mess.
I'm not really going to talk about former Yugoslavian Baltic state.
Oh, wow.
Politics.
A former Yugoslavian Baltic state. Wow, that's impressive right there. That's
I'll
genius.
leave you this. Genius or geni, both are acceptable. The plural, geni, is more formal, an attendant spirit of a person or place. Ooh, we're getting deep now. So there's some good reading for you,
There's
David.
There's no question that PK is usually the most formal of all of us.
Right. Thank you, David. We'll talk to you again next week. Enjoy the games.
You guys are an inspiration to all.
David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. Pablo Mastrani, RSL head coach, trying to avoid a 3-game losing streak. He joins us at the top of the hour. I'll bet he'll say he's not even thinking about the streak, but we'll find out. We'll talk to him then. DJ and PK, stay with us.
3, 2, 1. This is Scotty G and Coach Tim LeCoe.
The head coach of the University of Utah, Alex Jensen, kind enough to hang out with us.
I knew there's not any one person or one thing to blame, but the decline with the basketball at the University of Utah, I knew it had gone down. We played 4 top 10 teams at home, and we played Arizona was number 1 in the country, and the place was half full. And I remember walking out, and it was the first time I got pissed off because things had just slid, and it's everything. There's just a disconnect, I think, through the community. I can't count how many people that came up and said, yeah, we've had tickets, or we used to have tickets. Everybody remembers going to a camp when they were young, and they have memories of a game and stuff. It takes a while to build. The connection's been lost. And it doesn't help that the team changes as much as it does every year. I'd love to have the continuity, but that's just not with the rules the way they are now. That's not the world we live in.
Catch Scotty G and Coach weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, we just spoke with David Locke. The NBA playoffs continue. PK, you got any takeaways from David building that roster, sliding those young guys down into spots 10, 11, 12, 13? I'm with him with salary cap issues. I don't know that he can bring in all the roster spots that he's talking about. And I get why you'd want that, but I just don't know that that's going to be possible. So the cost is of bringing these guys in. That's a big part of the puzzle. And I got to wonder, with two $50 million guys, and they're good players, we like them, and I think they'll do good things, but I do wonder, are they overpaid $5, $10, or $15 million, and is that going to make it hard to build the roster?
Yeah, those are all worth wondering. I agree with that.
I would lean towards they're not worth $50 million. That's where I would lean right now. Now, we haven't seen a play together and the results. I do think they can get top 6 next year. I get that that's a high bar to ask them to clear, but you got 3 years essentially with this group, and you're going to have to mix stuff up then, and you want to open a championship window, so you can't loiter outside the top 6 very long if you're going to have those two things be true.
I don't think it's as high a bar as he makes it sound. Those teams are okay, but they've all got massive issues.
Denver doesn't play like a D, and they still got top 6.
And the roster isn't deep enough. Lakers, you're going to count on a 42-year-old now? So at some point, it's got to wear off, even if he comes back. We don't even know if he's coming back. Phoenix, they're limited, and what can they pull off? And they're fine teams. I'm not saying they're not. Mm-hmm. I just think that the talent level of the Jazz is not that far away from those teams, and health factors into it, and the chemistry of the guys that they were able to build that is new to the Jazz. I think that the Jazz right now are a little bit more unknown than those teams, but when we get to this time next year, we will know and we will see that they're minimally right there, and they've got to add some guys. I think that he's consistently not been as high on these rookies, or not rookies anymore, these draft picks.
Yep.
That I am. I'm a little higher on those opportunities, and he kept talking about this kid from Minnesota, Shannon, and Finch was talking about after the game, well, I haven't used him right all year. I've had him in the corner. He needs to have the ball in his hands. Well, when you have Anthony Edwards, you're not going to have the ball in this other kid's hands. So let's see what these kids can do when they don't have to have so much of the burden that they've been forced to carry. Can they provide in spurts? Now, I do agree with him, though, that, and I think you do too, that they need guys. You want to add a couple guys that need to be added to this roster, and I think Austin understands that, and that's what they're about. And who's to say that they don't use, I would think that all those guys that he mentioned from 10 through 15, I'd be surprised if all of them are on the roster. There might be some trade bait that allows them to get some players.
Yep.
But I'm bullish on this team being good next year.
I can see him bringing in a rookie and 2 veterans. That wouldn't surprise me. You were saying earlier in the show you've had some communication with Austin. I like talking Mammoth playoffs, but I sure like talk Jazz playoffs.
Right.
And working on it.
And we were joking. I was joking.
Yeah, I know you were. But, I mean, the point is he knows he's got to make those moves. We know he has to make those moves. The whole league knows he has to make those moves. But when Locke starts talking out to 10, it's like bringing in 4 veterans. Well, tell me what they cost. Maybe you find somebody sitting on somebody else's bench not getting paid, and you think that they can perform. At times the Jazz have done that. And at times they've hit on guys like Millsap in the second round, or Raja Bell back in the day who was buried on somebody's bench. You got to find the diamond in the rough. You can't pay everybody. You got to You got to go shop in the bargain rack.
Well, sure.
And get
a player like a Marcus Smart on his own.
Yep.
Is not that good, but when you ask him to fulfill a role that's vital, his level of contribution almost becomes better than the skill set, because you need that, and you need a bulldog kind of guy. I get that. And
Marcus Smart is only playing for $5 million these days. So
yeah.
Good way for the Lakers to shop in that bargain bin, because they're paying LeBron and Luka, and now who else do they have money for, right?
Yeah.
All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Pablo Mastroeni joins us next. Stay with us. We'll talk to the RSL head coach as they host the Portland Timbers, try to avoid a 3-game losing streak. That's coming up. Stay with us. Pablo's on the way.